Hello, I'm Muneer, and we're going to talk about this body of work of mine. We're talking about the drawings. We'll be talking about ceramic tiles. Both the drawings and the tiles are mixed media. Let's start with this one, which is a stylized mudfish that comes from the mythological stories of the Yoruba people. The Yoruba people have always had a kingship, and they always have believed from ancient times that their kings came from the mudfish, and then they evolved from that. This particular drawing is mixed media. What you have is a light blue to light green background. If you look at it closely, there are individual hatch marks that make up the background. And then of course the body of the fish is oil pastel on thick heavy paper, and then there's a bunch of graphite and colored pencil. The idea is trying to create a sense of movement, which I hope I have achieved with this particular work. And this once again comes out of the history of the origin of the Yoruba people. There is another deity whose name is Olokun. Let me walk you to that as we walk by these. We can come back to these, but Olokun Yemoja is a deity who is said to own the top and the bottom of the ocean. The believers and devotees of the Yoruba culture who have Olokun as one of their deities take their secrets to Olokun, who then takes them to the bottom of the ocean. Once again, we have a mixed media composition with a reddish wood printed background combined with oil pastels for the body, copper leaf in the spot of the tail and the spot of the leopard. And then of course you see this mermaidish-like figure. So the title of this piece I call Before There Was Starbucks, There Was Olokun, because if you notice, Starbucks has a mermaidish figure as their logo. And I just thought it was interesting that they had similar kinds of designs. Yeah. Now, if we go back to these are the Odu, and I've made them up out of ceramic clay, grout, and basically wooden frames. The forms and shapes themselves are hollow. In some of these pieces, like here, for example, you could see through the design to copper foil, but a shape like this here, which has also the copper foil, it also has the silver leaf. And each one of these designs here, the design in silver leaf here, the design in copper here, these are called the Odu. These are the spiritual messages that priests cast and reveal when a client comes and talks with them. But this exhibition is not only about the Yoruba people, it's about the similarities. It's about the similarities of spirituality between cultures. So I'd like to walk you over and show you the Mayan oracles, which is just here on the other side of the gallery. You can see, I don't want to go too close, the attendants and the helpers here in the gallery hanging these oracles. These are from the Mayan culture, and once again, I've taken the liberty to do an abstract interpretation of them. Heavy paper, copper foil, copper leaf, and graphite. Those are the basic materials I'm using for these compositions. There is another one I'd like to show you. We'd have to kind of move this ladder. Give me a moment to move the ladder, and that's this one here in particular. Once again, it's mixed media found objects, but if you look closely, on each one of these is scratched the Odu. The frame itself is made of copper that's been wrapped around and tacked down. The blue background is a heavy watercolor paper colored with oil pastel, and then simple hatch marks from the pencils that have been incorporated into the bigger composition. And then the individual 16 found objects, chips, or however one wants to, shells, or however one wants to call them, once again have the Odu scratched on them. There's 16 different Odus. Each Odu has 256 interpretations of what that particular formation means, and each one of those 256 has another doubled number of interpretations or verses that work with it. So we're working quite spiritually with that. The piece above it is a abstract interpretation of the Underground Railroad, the quilts that slaves used to use when they were about to run to freedom. So the orange shape around this particular composition is a stylized monkey wrench. And when slaves would put the quilts out to announce that they were about to run, the first thing they would do was put out the quilt that showed the monkey wrench, because that was the sign to tell people, hey, we're getting ready to run, so make sure you have your tools. And then of course, there was always the Big Dipper or the Little Dipper that they were always told to follow at night when they ran, because that was always taking them to the north, which was freedom. So I guess I'd like to go over to the other side here. We can talk a bit. Off in the distance, you'll see a chicken and a boat, or at least an abstract boat. Now, the blue chicken is an influence from the Ghanaian culture of Ghana, or the Akan culture of Ghana, and it's called the Sankofa. If you look at it closely, there's a bunch of incised designs on the surface of the bird, and those designs represent some of the tools that the slaves actually used to work with. Here you'll see a ship. Here you'll see a wrench and a straightening comb that black women used in a cosmetic sense, to beautify themselves and straighten their hair. The ship has a history of its own. It's called the Good Ship Jesus, and I did another interpretation of that, which is right here. And if you notice, once again, around the border of this composition, as with the border of the blue rooster, you see a stamp-like edge, which is an influence of me working with stamps as a kid. So I brought that design and characteristic into these clay compositions. These are all slabs that have been rolled and cut and formed, texturized, colored, fired, set in grout. And I'm trying to use the grout also in this sense as a part of the composition, as opposed to just being something on the wall. Is there anything you want to ask? I'm about running out.
Well, thank you so much, Muneer, for the exhibition, showing us about it, and it will open on January 17th. So thank you.
Thank you.